Hi everyone, this is Susie from Minnesota, and I garden in a zone 4, and it is September 1st, and I thought I'd do a full garden tour for you today. Everything is looking really good so far. Some things are starting to peter out, which is pretty normal for this time in the year. I'm doing this video now because it's 70 degrees right now. Kind of feels like fall to me. I think anything that is under 80, it feels like fall. I like the hot weather. But I think our hot weather is done for this season, because next week they're talking a high of 58 one of those days. I'm not looking forward to it. Maybe if I didn't have such horrible winters here, I would probably appreciate it a little bit more. We never really get a fall. It usually goes from summer to a little bit of fall straight into winter. Maybe it'll be a different year, but my cuttings of my coleus look really good. Or redhead coleus, lemon blush. But once these cool temps come, the coleus and caladiums are not going to look the best. Baby tut grass in here is loving its life. It's huge. I would not have needed this on patience. The coleus are eating them up. Especially this right here. I think this is the third time I'm filming this. First time, it's garbage day, so that's quite noisy, and it was very noisy. I had to stop. And then the sirens were going off. Fire trucks. This does look really good. It's very bright to me. I do like these combinations together. But eventually this will be turned into a perennial garden. I am a perennial gardener. I don't know. If I'm going to spend my money on something, I'm going to spend it on plants that come back, hopefully, year after year. It's not going to be a very informative tour. It's just going to show you what things are looking like at this time in the season. Every tour that I do, I try and touch upon the plants that are blooming. And maybe not looking so good. It's real gardening. Hostas still look really good for this time of the year. Plus, with as dry as we have been, we have gotten some much needed rain. I need to cut off the spent flowers here. I will be digging up my caladiums. Hopefully it doesn't get too wet. The previous years has just been so wet. The ground has been like sludge, and I don't like working in the ground when it's like that. But yeah, I'm hoping I can get my caladiums to overwinter for me inside somewhere. Not sure where yet. And how I'm going to do it. I need to look into that. Be taking some coleus cuttings here. I will do a video on my cuttings. There's going to be plenty. Snow on the mountain is very invasive. It's not a plant I would recommend to anyone unless if you have a huge area that you can't get anything to grow and you need a no-fuss plant and it can stay contained. But it's been in this area for quite some time now. I do worry about over here with these, and I really keep that. I try and stay on top of it. I have a turtle head over here, which is small compared to the other ones. Just starting to bloom, so this is in a little more shade over here than the other one. So it does like a little more sun. And it could be because it's a little, that's a wetter condition back there. And no competition from a big tree. So there are some plants that need to be moved, split, and I'm hoping I get to splitting the plants this year soon, just because I like to get them, hopefully they get their roots established before we get too cold. Anything that I move or split will be watered in really good and then kept being watered until the ground freezes hard. But they will be heavily mulched for some added protection. He is so patiently waiting for a walk here. Oh no, he's always watching me. I would have him in his little potty play area, but he'd be whining throughout the whole tour and probably getting into some mischief. This is the only area though that I bag the grass in, because it also bags the little, like the twigs. He likes to chew them, and I'm not a fan of that because I don't need it getting stuck in his gums or causing a problem. Also, one of my dogs, he's no longer with me, but ended up running into a stick and really doing some damage to his eye. He didn't lose it, but it was a long process to where it wasn't healing, and eventually they had to use some of his blood to make a serum. And he would get a drop every 2 hours. So since then I'm pretty careful to pick up the sticks and yeah, keep on top of that. That was pretty spendy. The hardy geranium does not look as good as the others. It's still hanging in there, so I leave it. I like to give plants a chance. Sometimes they end up surprising you. Like the heuchera. I don't give up on them, and I've moved them, and finally I think I found a place that they like to be. And this tour I'm going to try and show you some wider views of my garden, because it's always close-ups, and sometimes it's nice to see it on a bigger scale. The mosquitoes are out, so if I get a little jerky, it's because they're not horrible, not enough for me to wear my bug suit. Like last year I was constantly in it, and not once this year. I'm sure my town will be spraying again tonight, and my poor little guy will. He is always miserable after they spray. His last potty is usually around 11 o'clock. There is a breeze, so hopefully that doesn't cause too much of an issue with the sound quality. My coleus cuttings back here are looking really good. I haven't done a whole lot to them. Either they make it or they don't. You can see back here one of them was broken off a bunch of times. I've left it, and I don't do a whole lot with annuals. I just don't feel like I do in my pots. That's where I spend some money on some annuals. And even at that, a lot of them were seeds I started or a lot of my cuttings. And I will be taking more of the newer varieties I have this year. My containers, I like to move them around for pops of color in certain areas, maybe to fill in a gap. But I love perennial gardening. I don't have drip irrigation. I did have some soaker hoses, and it's too costly. It really is. But normally I do get enough rain, so I'm surprised that the Caladiums are doing as good as they are, just because they do like a little moisture. The spent flowers on the ground here are from this begonia, which is Belliconia Snow. I think this is a really amazing begonia. This has just, I love how it drapes. It's really done good this year. I will do a container video too. I'm hoping this isn't my last tour. I think, you know, once we start talking about middle of September, late September, you will see a difference. Even now you'll see some differences in the garden. This is a pretty area right here with the hosta and then with the turtle head blooming, along with Rudbeckia, black-eyed Susan, and a little pop of color from the clematis. The anemone is doing really nicely. Leaning a little bit. I think it's kind of leaning towards the sun, so this might not be the best area for it, but it might get moved into this area over here. I think once I pull out some of the annuals that I have in there, like the zinnias, there might be some room left over. Oops, it's kind of a spent flower. I should leave it be. That one might be a little better. It is very pretty. And it has a lot of blooms, and that's great for the late color. The Joe Pye weed, you can see that it is flopping more so on this side over here, because I had some planted here and here, and every year on this right side it does that. This one stands up a little bit better to the elements, so I'm not sure why that is. You can see the late figwort is kind of drooping a bit. It's so massive. But I kind of like that look. It's definitely a pollinator garden. Creeping Jenny I had that in a container one year and it's taken over. So if you do plant this in containers, be careful. I'm a zone 4, so if it does it for me, it will do it for you. It is creeping out into the soil here. I will show you my vegetables because I'm about ready to, I don't know, throw in the towel, be done with them. Beans this year, I love beans, but I'm not gonna lie, I never watered them and they were very tough. The flavor was not so good on them. They weren't very tender. I am just letting them get big, go to seed, and I'm trying to collect some seeds for next year. Like I said, I didn't water this area. I normally don't water my beans ever, but for some reason there's a stray, I think, asparagus bean in here. Not a fan of this bean. Ick. Maybe it's very spongy. I'm not sure. I do like my green beans though. Zinnias are still doing okay. It's just less sun in this garden right now. My favorite time is usually May and June. Just everything looks so vibrant, so green, a lot more sun. But still offering some color. I do like the Queenie Red Lime zinnias. They are definitely different, that's for sure. Cucumbers have done great for me this year, especially in this area. Oops, I kind of tripped on a rock there. The early Russian is a favorite of mine. I will definitely do that. I think I'm going to take it easy on the Suyo Long. They're okay, but they're really ribbed, so kind of makes, because I do peel some of the cucumbers for certain things. And so by the time I'm done peeling them, I think I've taken a lot of the cucumber with it. But yeah, early Russian, one of my favorites. I'm very happy. Took off the fleece on here. Hopefully my beets come to something before freeze. They look a little pathetic. Again, I have not been keeping up on the watering. I've just kind of letting nature run its course. I should give up on my jalapenos though. They're just... Peas are doing good though. Ate my first one yesterday. Really good. That should tolerate the cold pretty well. I'm hoping we don't have another freeze for at least a month. This asparagus plant, is that not crazy? Oh, look at that. I'm leaving it. I think moving it will be a little tough, but I think eventually I will move it. Been getting a lot of tomatoes. Some are ripening a lot faster than others. This is Dr. White Cheese. It's a really good one. Berry's Crazy Cherry Tomato is producing like crazy. I can't keep up. There's no exaggeration, I would say thousands of them in here. Super good. Been giving a lot to family. A lot of tomato sandwiches. This is a nice one. I find that the fruit closer to the top is a lot better looking than the ones like this. This one's kind of nasty. But I have a lot. And next year I'm not going to do so many. Sometimes I have a really good year and sometimes I have a bad year. And this year looks to be pretty good. So Italian Heirloom, awesome tomato. I had a really big one the other day. And the fruit, I mean, that is split. But again, with all of the rain that we've had, that doesn't surprise me. This is a polka. If this one could probably come off, that doesn't look the healthiest. Some have been rotting before they've ripened, but I definitely have enough. Look at the size of these. That is a really good tomato too. And very prolific. Not a fan of the Paul Robeson. Everybody raves about it, and it's in my book. Powdery mildew. And I'm just leaving it. I've cut off the leaves. There's the evidence. I left it. And it might bounce back. But I have gotten a lot of zucchini from this in here. I'm very pleased with that one. This, for some reason, is starting to get another Minnesota midget. It's not going to come to anything before a freeze. Very good flavor, but very tiny. I've given up on the Kajari melon. I've tried it twice now, and it's not worth it. It's pretty. I mean, I'll give it that, but one fruit off that. And then these are just some garlic chives back here. I let them flower. Something smells really good back here. One sec. Oh, I'm not going to smell it. There's bees all over. And yep, they have kind of seeded into the mulch, but that's easily controlled. Cucumbers are coming to an end. See what I mean? They're really ribbed, so peeling them, if I was making like refrigerator pickles, then yeah, I don't have to worry about it, but it's still good flavor though. These are my Lima beans. I don't know. I'm not sure on those. This is like a zucchini jungle. I can't believe this plant. Look at all of those zucchini. And I mean, it just kind of, I don't know if I can, look how it's just keeps trailing down. That's crazy. It's really liking something over here. Probably my best year for zucchini in a long time. And I'm surprised because those did have some damage from the squash vine borers. Oops. Wrong way. I'm sorry. It's not just a vegetable tour, it's an all-over tour. That is just a branch that broke down. I need to get to my waste site. So it just has a home behind the garden. See how the Joe Pye weed has just kind of, this one, big time. But and I leave it because the bees just go crazy for it, and same with the butterflies. So it may not look pretty, but something's loving it. I definitely don't have a tidy garden, and I'm okay with that. I think I love it when it looks a little wild. Honeysuckle is still blooming. I just noticed that I have these orange marks in my lawn. I'm wondering when they did that. Had to have been today because I mowed yesterday and they were not there. I am going to give up on the lemon tree. It didn't produce any fruit. It's a lot of work, and honestly, it wasn't even something that I bought. It was my sister's, and it's not worth the hassle. But you can see there's a little tomato plant that's loving its life there. Looks nice and green. A lot of these tomatoes that are down here have self-seeded, and I'm letting them self-seed. Okay, I'm going to smell this. I'm going to take a risk. Oh my goodness, the flowers on the garlic chives smell wonderful. It is like, just such a nice, soft, florally, sweet scent. That is the scent that I'm smelling. That was nice. Cleome just keeps blooming. Aren't the seed pods pretty on the hyacinth bean vine? I'll try and get a better view of this. Gomphrena has been wonderful this year. It's kept its color. Really like that plant too, that flower. These Bennery's giant lime zinnias are so pretty. Oh, I was going to show you this daylily. Not daylily, dahlia. It's a spent flower, but right now I think it's just being shaded out by everything, so it's not doing great. I will dig it up, see if I can store the tubers for the winter in my garage. Dahlias this year have not done the best for me. This one has. This sedum is very pretty. I just love that late color that it gives. Maybe not so much in the middle, but Nepeta has a few blooms on it. Not as glorious as when it first bloomed, but still, the bees are loving it. It's bulking out quite nicely. At some point, I will be splitting this White Wands Veronica, and unfortunately, it's going to happen soon, so I am going to have to pull all of these zinnias out. They are still blooming, they're still offering some color, but ultimately, this at some point, garden will be all perennials. Maybe. There's always room for more, right? I love zinnias though. They're such an easy flower to grow. But you can see there's not as many blooms on the zinnias as there used to be. Just not enough sun anymore. And that's very normal at this time of year for me. Oops, stumbled a little bit. Oh. The David White Phlox is still blooming. That's amazing. The grasses look really nice. They've just flopped just a little bit. You can see that in there with the heavy rains that we had. But I love their flowers. I'm not sure what you want to call them. Plumes. That is so neat. Some of the yarrow achillea that I just planted is doing really good, like that one there. But I'm sure that's getting a little bit more sun. And then the ones back there are just struggling a little bit. But the yarrow is a spreader, so that's okay. And then this pot here will probably be gone at some point, so that way I can split the phlox and move some other things around. Lamb's ear, holy cow. Really, that's so impressive. I do leave the spent flowers on my coneflowers so the birds can eat from them, and that offers a little bit of a fall interest. Acorn squash here is also getting some powdery mildew. I do have some on. They are changing to that darker green. You can see in there. But will it be before a frost? We will find out. This is basil that I had started from seed. Dark opal. Dark opal? Purple opal? I forget. I really like that. Silver sage, also started from seed. This at some point I will be pulling out because I have plans for this little area here. And I do move my pots, you can see, just for more color. Look at these zinnias. This is why I'm like, They kind of resemble dahlia to me, but to me they're a little easier and cheaper. Look at the size of that. That is Benry's giant purple. That is amazing. And then I have another one over here. Oh. And a butterfly friend. But this one, look at that. This is the Celosia that self-seeded into my mulch. That's, oh, need to be careful. It's a little wild looking, but I love it. I absolutely love it. This has the most butterflies in it. And this is also the Benry's giant purple. So isn't it funny how that one's so full and this one is not? But don't you love that? It's like a crown. So I do like that too. And I feel like when they're not quite so full, it puts out a little more flowers. So I will always have Tithonia, Mexican sunflower, in my gardens because the monarchs love them. And bees love them. And they're so easy to grow. I will always have Cleome, and probably just because it will self-seed all over. Zinnias are a must. I like Cosmos, but I did end up pulling a lot of them. They just got too floppy, I think they're a little more work than the other. Just lots of deadheading required for those, but I do like them for that ferny leaf texture. I have some still back in here if you can see. So Oh, and Nicotiana. I just love Nicotiana. And when you think about these two gardens here, oh, the hyacinth bean vine too, but I think I'll probably put it in a different area where you can see it a little bit better. But right now, it definitely, those seed pods are, oh, and they're beautiful. And so is the flower. And there are my hydrangea cuttings. This area doesn't get much sun anymore, so they're okay there. They're a little protected and sheltered in that spot. A little limelight. It's a really pretty hydrangea. And all of these definitely have their fall color. Well, not fall. Let's say late summer, because it's not fall yet. Oh, they're massive. Oh, there's a bee by me. Oh. I disturbed him. Hopefully you can see the colors pretty well. On my screen, they don't look all that fantastic, but it is a little tiny screen. I still get a lot of joy from my gardens. They're still looking really good. Some things, oh, I was going to show you the grass here quick. So it looks good over here, but and this is where it's flopped a little bit. I will have to split this in the spring. I think it's just getting too big, and then the middle of this was bare, so that kind of is a good indication too that it's time to split the plants. That's a nice thing about perennials, is a lot of these can be split and rehomed. I don't have too many people in my family who are perennial gardeners. Or gardeners for that matter. My dad was a vegetable gardener, and that's what got me hooked, and then it just kind of went on from there. So, I don't know when I'm going to do the next tour. Unfortunately, I do have a bad feeling that it's not going to be quite as lush. Let's say lush. But that's okay. Can start making plans for next year, and that's always a good thing. It's one thing about gardening is when you plant something, especially a perennial, you're thinking about next year and how glorious they're going to look. Like, I can't wait for this yarrow to bloom, and the Amsonia. I've never grown it before, and I can't wait to see what that looks like. So fingers crossed it survives my zone 4 here. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this tour, and bye for now.